Be strong.
Hi, I'm Mira G. I'm an educational technology coach, educator, creative, and tech enthusiast. Today we're going to do a full walkthrough tutorial of Adobe Spark Post. So let's start with, what is Adobe Spark? Adobe Spark is a cloud-based suite of media creation applications. It is a creation tool, and there are three parts of this: Spark Page, Spark Post, and Spark Video. So Spark Post is what we're going to be going over today, and this is all about graphics. So Spark Post creates a single page with images and specially formatted text. One of the new features is adding animation, and Spark Page is creating sophisticated web pages, scrolling text, etc. Spark Video is allowing you to make video presentations, to combine images, icons, text, music, and narrations. So these are three different parts, so you can think of Adobe Spark as having three different sections. We're going to be specifically looking at the Spark Post application. Okay, so Adobe Spark has free and paid, or premium, and as you can see here, here's the current pricing model, and I'm going to be showing you on my account which is a premium version. So how do we use it? Through the following slides and my live demo, I'm going to go over how to create a project and how to use the interface of Spark Post. So let's start with creating a project. Once you've logged into Spark, you'll see the dashboard right here. On the left side here, this is where we can do a plus button to add new projects. We can also add new projects from these preset sizes. And down here, this is where you'll have your recent projects. So as you work, you'll be able to see your projects here, and you can access them at any time from this dashboard. And I'm going to show you what it looks like live. So here is the landing page. Here's my recent projects. Here again are some of the sort of default sizes that I could be using. I can also go to the plus button here and pick as well. I'm just going to go with a standard flyer. So here you can see this is the Spark Post interface. So with the Post interface, the first thing you're going to see is right here, this is a little pencil icon. This allows you to edit the name of your project. I think the first thing you should always do is name your project. It's a really good habit for any sort of document that you're creating in any platform. Is the first thing is to actually just name it. And so this is the interface and this is the artboard. And let's go over how we're going to be using this. So this is the general Post interface. Right here, this icon takes you back to the main dashboard, and you'll notice how it says SP Post. Well, that indicates what type of project you're in, right? So this is a post, so that's why it says it. If you're on page or video, it will say something different. So Adobe Spark auto saves once you start adding to your project. So right here, I've not added anything here, so it's not automatically saving this because it's just blank. Right here, this is the standard undo, redo tool. Download options, share options, we'll go over those. And the zoom, zoom in, zoom out, info, all that sort of right here in the bottom. And then most importantly, we have the left-hand side and the right-hand side toolbars. On the left-hand side, these are tools that allow you to affect, edit, or add different elements or assets to your project on a whole besides templates. And on the right, you can think of these as tools that affect the whole project. So left is more like individual assets, and the right is more whole project. Now, templates is the first sort of option you have on the upper left-hand corner. And these are pre-made templates that you can edit and remix. And this could be a good starting point to see some different design ideas. And you can search through the templates available. If you click on the template, then confirm you want to apply it, it will resize it to your artboard, and it will make everything in the template the size of your artboard. So let's see what that looks like. So here's the templates. And you can see this indicates it's a premium. I have premium, so I can use this. But say, for example, I'm like, ooh, I really like this. Now, this is very much similar to the artboard size that I have, so it's not going to really do a lot of resizing. But if my artboard would size something different, it would resize all these elements to fit onto my artboard. So I'm going to just click this one. I'm going to say, oh yeah, I definitely want to use it. So I click create from this template. It's going to grab it and put it all into my template right here. All right, so this is sort of showing you how you can very easily take some of these pre-made designs and just get started working. In terms of the assets on the artboard, these are the individual elements of your poster. And if you click on one of these individual elements, you'll get an associated editing menu for that asset. So we got photos, we got backgrounds, text, icons, etc. clicking on those individual elements are going to bring up the conceptual menu for that icon or photo, etc. And also select an item, click and drag and move it around, rotate it, delete it, etc. Double click on text to edit the text box. So this right here, I can double click to edit, and these are individual text that were added. And if I double click on it, it will show me the text, and I can go in and I can say change the text. So you can see how it changes it. Now clicking off, right, there's nothing selected. Clicking on, this brings up a separate menu right here that shows me different options for this item. So adding text is super easy. You click on the text icon right here, it'll bring up this lovely dialog box, which will either allow you to add your own text that's unstyled or pick one of these sort of text-based templates. All right, so let's see what that looks like. Here is my blank template. The first thing you should always be doing is renaming this. So I'm going to call this sample poster. All right, and then I'm going to go into text and I'm going to see my options. Now, again, this one lets you add just simply unstyled text. So you can see here it says return to add a new line, shift return to confirm, or click the done button. And here it puts my unstyled text onto my artboard. Now, that's different if I decide to use one of these. Again, the yellow, this indicates that it's a premium asset. And if you don't have premium, then you won't be able to use it. So for example, I want to use this one. So it adds it here with the sort of the text that was indicated in the template. But again, if I double click on this, then I can just have add my own text. So styled. All right, so that's the difference between unstyled and styled text. Now what happens when I want to add new text once I've added unstyled text, is that it starts using some of the styles from this template. So once you've decided to use a template, it will then sort of grab those styles from the template and you'll be starting to use them. So as you can see here, this is unstyled text. I added it, it didn't have a specific style, but once I started adding text from a template, now when I add new text, it's going to be sort of styling it in the same way as this text. So it doesn't look exactly the same because this one's circular, but you'll notice it's the same font. So that's a good thing to know when you're adding your text. So in adding photos, this is great because you have the option of uploading photos from your computer, but also you can find free photos through this application. So if you click on find free photos, it will search through Creative Commons free to use photographs, and that's really great because then you don't have to worry about using an image that's not been licensed for reuse. You can also click in and use libraries, Lightroom, connect to Dropbox, connect to Google Photos, connect to Google Drive. Just remember that if you're going to use some of these features, you're going to have to connect them to other accounts. So now let me show you how we actually add photos. Like I said, you just click on the photos icon and you can upload your own photos, but I'm going to show you the find free photos option. So I'm making a post about summer, so I'm just going to look summer and see what happens. Oh, okay, so we got some great stuff going on. I'm going to click on this one. So it automatically adds it to my artboard. So as you can see here on the right-hand side, once you select an image, you get the menu that shows you all the different options of things you can do. You can also drag it and move it around. You can reshape it, crop it. You can see there's lots of different things here. I'm going to show you when I actually demo this tool. There's also something really handy, which is this right here in purple. You can add this to the background, and this sort of locks it into the background and goes behind your text and becomes the background layer. Now, for an image that is not locked, you'll have this additional menu right here that allows you to duplicate image, change the layer. So remember, we're using layers, so every single element we have is sort of like one piece of paper on top of each other. And so once you start adding multiple elements, it's going to be important to be able to change the layer order of those elements. So let's take a look at some of these features with the photo that I've selected. So here's my photo. So you can see with the cursor selected, I can move it around my artboard. I can also see that on the bottom, this is how I can rotate my image. We also have on the corner these lovely little options to resize my image. And when this is selected, right now it's its own independent asset. And you can see it's actually in front of the text. Now I can actually change the layer or to move it to the bottom. But if I wanted this to be on the background, I would click right here to add it to the background, and then it's locked in terms of that layer, but I could still be moving it around within that specific background. Okay, so I've added another photo right here to show you some of the features of using the image editing on the right-hand side. So right here we have blend mode, and this is very similar to Photoshop. It only has a couple options, but you can sort of blend the layer that you're using on top of the layers below. You can also change the opacity, right? We can flip it horizontal, flip it vertical. We can crop and shape it. So here we can change the ratios. We can also crop it into a specific shape. So I can crop it into a circle. I'm going to say yes, that's good. I can also add filters. So there's lots of filters here. I can add specific filters. I can also have enhancements. Once I started using one of these effects, the slider goes to the right, meaning it's on. And I can always turn it off to see what it looks like and then turn it back on. So this is like a nice sort of slide to the left if it's off, slide to the right if it's on. And then the last one right here is blur. So I'm going to turn this one off. So again, you can turn them on, turn them off, and sort of see what they look like. Now continuing on the left-hand toolbar, we have icons. Icons help illustrate meaning or add design elements to your projects. You can search through the library of icons, and this is also how I add basic shapes to my project. You can edit the icons you add with color, size, transparency, etc. So let's see what that looks like. So icons are really great. So for example, I could actually find specific icons for like a flower or something like that, but I can also use it to find shapes. Now, why would you perhaps want to find a shape? Well, the nice thing about using a shape is that I can use it to help block out text. So if I make this color white and then I change the opacity, and now right now it's in front of my text, but if I moved it to the back, you can see here, this could potentially help my text. Now, since my text is yellow, that's hard to see, but if my text was, say, blue, that can help my text be visible. So here you can see my text isn't so visible because of the contrast between the background and the text color, but if I had like sort of an opacity of a box, now it's much more visible. So that's a feature that's pretty handy in terms of using the icons. You can think of icons, they're more than just icons, they're also shapes. Now let's talk about design assets. Now design assets are pretty cool. In December 22, Adobe Spark added over 20,000 new design assets to Adobe Spark on the web. And they're really a great way to give your project more depth and texture because you can add things like illustrations and brush marks and textures and overlays. I particularly really love the textures. I think they're super fun elements to add to your project. So textures and overlays are two of my sort of favorite, and let's go into overlays and let's see what we can find. So I'm going to click this one. All right, so let's play around with this, and that's one of the great things about Adobe Spark is like there is a lot of play that you can be doing with your project. And you know what? I think that is pretty cool. I'm just going to like leave that right there. All right, so I've added one design asset, and again, there's actual individual items as well. So that was an overlay, but we also have frames and elements and illustrations and abstract florals. There's really tons of stuff here. One of the main difference between design assets and icons is that with this asset, I can't change its color. I can go in and I can, change filters and enhancements and stuff like that. But unlike an actual icon, this allows me to change the color. I can't change the color of any of these design assets, but they're pretty cool. And then if I don't want it, I can just delete it. So next up, we have backgrounds. So if you don't use an image or a photo as background, this is a great option to add a background that isn't a plain color. So I'm going to just select my image as a background, and I'm going to make it not a background. So right? And so right now the background is white, but say I did want a sort of more jazzed up background than just a plain color. There's tons of different things here that you can decide, doodle, people, all sorts of great stuff. And it adds it as an image, so you actually could be using some of these backgrounds as just elements of your project, or you can just click and add it to the background. So continue on, then we have logos, and if you have the premium version of Adobe Spark, you can upload your own logo to add to your project, and if you have the free version, the Adobe Spark logo is automatically added to your projects. Then we have libraries, which allow you to sync digital assets, and this makes it easier to create, reuse, and share assets, and you can create your own library or upload your assets to Creative Cloud libraries or connect your existing libraries to Spark. Now moving on to the right-hand side, and again, these are tools on the right-hand side that affect sort of the whole entire project instead of individual assets. The first one is colors. The colors are basically the color theme for your projects. If you chose a template, then it has a pre-picked color palette, but you can also change the current colors and pick any of the sort of pre-made color swatches and palettes below. Also, you can shuffle the current order of your color theme, which is what colors are used for what elements, or change specific colors within the palette. So on my project right here, if I click on colors, you can see this is the current color theme. I can switch around what order of what things are being used for what. That's a shuffle. I can also go into the change color option and change specific colors of this theme. And here I can see this is the color hex code, and then I can actually just be like dragging it around. I can also set up color for my brand. So if you have a brand, you can set up a specific color theme for your brand. I can also go through some of these pre-made color themes, and they're sort of categorized by, you know, what they consider decorative, modern, bold, etc. So say I want something really fun and summery, I pick maybe this one, and there we go. Now, moving along, animations are pretty cool. You can make an animated graphic in Adobe Spark Post. As of right now, you can either do a text animation or a photo animation. You cannot do both. And if you download your project as a PNG, JPEG, or PDF, it flattens your file, so then it won't be animated. So this only really works when it's still online. We click on animations. Again, right now I have none. Again, this is beta, so we'll see what happens in the future. But I have text animations, which will take my text and sort of do stuff to it. Like, I have different options in terms of dynamic or flicker, those sort of, you know, interesting. But if I decide maybe I want, instead of photo animation, it only does one. So I can either have text or I can have photo animations. It's one or the other, and you cannot really pick which one it's doing in terms of, I want a photo animation, but which photo is it using? It's usually using like the biggest object on the screen. So for example, if I had a smaller piece of text that's noticeably smaller than this piece, if I go into animations and I animate the text, it always sort of animates the first big piece of text first. So background on the right, this is kind of confusing because you got backgrounds on the left and then you have background on the right. Just remember, on the left, those are individual assets. On the right is sort of overarching for the whole entire project. So this background on the right-hand toolbar, it is about the layout style of your poster. So there are multiple background sections, grid layout, etc. So right now, I currently just have a single column, right? And if I had a double column, this would have like different sort of sections for me to be adding different elements to my project. And, you know, there's also grid layout and all sorts of different things that you can do. So you can also play around with this. So again, this is probably something you want to start thinking about in the beginning stages of your project, but it's nice to sort of look in the background and see what are the different options in terms of the grid layouts and background sections. Now, in terms of resizing, this allows you to change the size of your project. You can add custom sizes or pick from some of the default social post sizes, comment print sizes, social profiles, or standard sizes. As you can see here, mine's just a common poster size. If I hover over, it gives me the actual dimensions, and I can also just merely click on one of these and it will resize everything in my artboard to that size. Lastly, we have something called design. And design is almost like the template option in terms of it's a pre-made design, but instead it takes the elements on your project and puts it into the design style that you have selected. If I have the design right here, and notice this is match design layout. Turn this on, it matches the layout and style. If you turn it off, it's gonna match the style only. So let's see what that looks like. So if I turn this off, I click here, this only changes the style of the elements on my poster, but if I instead have match design layout on and then click here, it changes all the elements. It doesn't just change the styles, it also changes the layout. Now, once you're done, what do? So you have two different options. We have download and share. Download is if you want the actual digital copy of your project. So you click this, and then you can choose between the default of PNG, JPEG, or PDF. Select which option you want, and then click Start Download, and it will download the actual file to your computer. By default, this will go to your downloads folder unless you've changed this in your default settings. Then we have share. So share is the way that you are sharing the file, but sort of online, right? So you have several different options, including publish. You can also invite to add collaborators to edit this project. You can also click this button right here to also invite someone to collaborate on this project. You can make this a template. You can send it to your Google Drive. You will need to connect your Drive account if you want to do this. If you're actually sharing this, you'll notice you'll get this pop-up right here where you have the option to share it to share and publish to, say, Facebook, Twitter, Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams, or email link of this project. So those are the different options. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Adobe Spark Post is pretty great. It's a very powerful cloud-based application, and they've done a complete redesign from a couple years ago, and they've really made it a much more user-friendly and added a lot more features. Again, I hope you enjoyed this. Like and subscribe for more, and add a comment down below if you have a request for a specific tutorial.